I hope I'm not late though. To tell you I'm grateful. Yeah. At times I lost faith. I just thank God's grace that you always stayed faithful. I hope I'm not late though.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's your boy Deviate and welcome again to the Grateful Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, somebody who is from our church, New Song Family Church, and a very huge advocate for apologetics and really understanding, defending the faith. In all areas. And yeah, we're supposed to do this I think last year already, and yeah, it took some time, but we're here now. So everybody, welcome Gail Potgieter
and Thomson.
So
maiden name is Potgieter.
Okay.
Married name is Thomson. So some people know me by my maiden name and some people by my married name. So.
I see. Fantastic. Because I do know that we're talking about it with a friend at some point, because I think on Facebook.
Yeah.
We're
have
friends.
Both.
You have both on Facebook?
Yeah, both surnames on Facebook.
Oh, okay. I only saw the first one.
Because initially, Facebook didn't want to let me change my name without submitting my whole life story to them.
I see.
So I added Thomson to it.
Nice.
But officially I've changed my name on my ID and stuff.
All right.
But yeah.
Great stuff. Awesome stuff. Okay, so on this show, we always kind of like to start with a question of what are you grateful for? So yeah, what are you grateful for this week?
Sure. Lots of things.
Okay.
I think one of the things I'm grateful for every day is the fact that I get to live in Namibia.
Okay.
So I'm from South Africa, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of time and wrestling with home affairs to be allowed to stay. So we're on two-year work permits, and every time we get those permits, we're very grateful for them.
Praise God for that. Because I know the church has been praying with that. And also one of the things that's very common, especially in our church, is this whole home affairs situation. We've had friends who had to leave because of home affairs, and a lot of broken hearts because of how the system is, and even it's understandable why those rules and laws are there. It always hurts when you see somebody who is undeserving to be kind of they're doing everything legal to stay in the country, and still they end up being asked to leave and having all these issues. So we do thank God when the system works.
We don't take it for granted, that's for sure.
Amazing. All right, so we're talking about apologetics today, specifically about science and faith. All right, so I wanted to ask you, in fact, before even getting to that, I want to hear your story of how you came to faith. Yeah.
So it's actually a very straightforward story. Like a lot of people, I came to faith when I was still quite young, and so young that mainly my father remembers the event better than I do.
Okay.
Because I was with him at the time, and apparently we were walking back home from church one day, and I grabbed him and said, Dad, did you know that when Jesus touches you, he really changes you?
Wow.
My dad was like, okay, this is cool. So my dad himself was a very new Christian at the time.
Okay.
He'd only just really started going to church, and he has a much more dramatic story than I do.
Yeah.
So he had finally come to the Lord himself, and it had changed his life. And he was praying for his wife and kids to also come to Christ, and I was the first of his family. So it was a big deal for him as well.
Okay, no, that's an amazing story, really. And I'm always fascinated at generations of Christians, because it's something that we rarely see, especially in our country. The current generation of Christians that, people of my age, we always feel like we're the first generation of Christians, and we don't even realize how much prayer and how much work needs to go to make sure that your children and their children would be.
It's not automatic.
It's not automatic. Yeah, fantastic. So let's talk about faith and science. So how did this sort of passion come about?
So I studied biology. So I went into, and by this point, I had been a Christian for quite a while. I was a teenager when I went to university. And I decided I wanted to do biology, particularly zoology. I also did botany as my other major. But I was mainly interested in animals. I just chose botany as the second major.
Okay.
And I knew going into it, like I had some idea going into it, that the biological sciences are dominated by atheism.
Okay.
So, long story short, but we can get into it, but because of evolution, basically.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of biology professors, not all of them, even within my own university. So I went to University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay.
And within my own university, there were at least 2 professors, lecturers that I know of that were Christians.
Okay.
But they were the odd men out, or odd lady out in the one case. The rest of them were all atheists.
Okay.
And I kind of knew going in that was the field I was going into, and that was the environment I was going into. And I hadn't, at that stage, the school curriculum really didn't say much about evolution at all. You only learned it at university.
Okay.
I think these days it's creeping back and back. So now you're learning it in high school. Back then, high school, they basically, if they even touched on it, it was like briefly.
Yeah.
And you really learned it if you went to university to study biology. So I knew I was going to study evolution. That's sort of part of the package.
Yeah.
And I can't say a teenager thinks very much at this point. So I can't say I went in with like this grand strategy of how I was going to deal with it. I had more an idea that I'm going to university to study and to learn. And I don't know enough to fight with my lecturer about whether or not evolution is true. Like I barely even understand the theory itself. So I'm just going to make a fool of myself if I'm going to like stand up in class and say, this is rubbish, have you read the Bible? Like it would be fairly counterproductive. So I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to study it. And I'm going to learn what this theory is about and what its story is. And I'm going to write papers and exams and essays on it as though I believe in it. Because A, that's what is expected. And B, the point is to show that you've learnt the study material. So I need to be able to explain evolution as an evolutionist because that's the study material and that's what I'm getting myself into. So if I don't want to learn evolution and be able to explain it, well, then I should find another degree.
True.
So I kind of went in with that kind of attitude, and I think it stood me in reasonably good stead. Yeah,
and I think that's a very interesting. I've never actually thought about it like that when I was studying, because when I came into university, it was my first year as a Christian. I think I've been a Christian for like 6 months at that time, and I was very stubborn in my faith to be like anything that speaks against my faith a little bit, that goes against my values, I will
stand up for it.
Yeah, stand up for it, argue against it and stuff like that. But taking your approach, which I think a lot of Christian scientists do, which is I'm going to study the thing to a point where I can even defend it for myself, as if I believe it. That way I'm able to steel man every single argument before I actually try to take it down. And that, I think, is something that a lot of students can actually do regardless of what field they're in, whether you're doing law and then you have to argue the idea of, abortion. You really need to understand what the Namibian law is and understand the other side of it, be able to defend the other side. If you have to kind of be pro-abortion, so that when you do make the argument of being pro-life, it's
a strong one.
It's a very strong argument that you can't break down easily. You're not fighting a straw man. So I actually like that approach that you did, and I learned a lot from that.
I mean, I question myself, so I often we had one particularly sort of forthright professor who was also one of the few people back then who was openly gay.
Okay.
So besides his evolution, like he was an evolutionary biology professor, so it was like his niche was evolutionary biology. Not all biologists are evolutionary biologists.
Yeah, okay.
So that was his that was what he taught. And he was very, very anti-Christian. So sometimes I wondered, should I be more of a witness? Like, should I push back? Should my classmates realize that, I'm not on board with everything? And I still learn, in one point you think, am I just following the path of least resistance? Yeah. Am I just like afraid of persecution? Is that my motivation? Is that what I'm trying to? And if so, then that's wrong and I should be standing up more.
Yeah.
And I had a classmate, quite a bit older than me. She was doing her second degree. She was in her 30s. And she was quite open to standing up where she could. One of the entertaining stories in this particular class was that we were given the task to do a presentation on controversies within evolution. So it was and these controversies are usually minor things, like not whether evolution is true or not. That's not what he was expecting. He was expecting how did this species come to be in this place? Yeah, okay. And there's this theory about it, and there's that theory about it, and we're not sure. So those are the sorts of things he was expecting. So I chose one that I thought it was subtly pointing to the fact that this whole idea was rather foolish, but it was very subtle. Okay. And that is the existence of lemurs on Madagascar. Okay. And not going to go into it, but there is a controversy about how did lemurs get to Madagascar. Okay. In terms of when the continents broke up and when they think lemurs got there genetically. It doesn't make sense because you'd basically have to have amphibious lemur is very good at swimming to get across from Africa to Madagascar, especially with the currents. So it's like, how did lemurs get there? Which is, I'm like, this is a big challenge for the whole system. So that's what I presented on. And my friend, she just presented on young earth creationism versus evolution.
Oh, wow. Okay, that was not subtle at all.
I was like, wow, sledgehammer. And our professor was not remotely impressed. Like, I think he was fine with mine because it was much more subtle and I didn't try to make any grand points. But he was unimpressed with her at all.
All right. So let's take it back a little bit because you mentioned something, and I also need to remember that a lot of people don't know this. The difference between young Earth creationists and what's the
old
opposite?
Earth?
Old Earth. Okay.
So the standard theory that most people abide by, most geologists, most scientists of every shape. Is that the world is 3.4 billion or something years old. That number keeps changing, usually getting older, depending on evidence and stuff. So we had the universe began with a Big Bang. And that's not just 3.4 billion, that's billions and billions of years. I never know how long, but that number also changes a lot because no one's really sure. But anyway, so the Big Bang was billions and billions of years ago. Then everything cooled down after that and planets started coalescing, and one of those planets, a fairly young galaxy, is the Milky Way. And our solar system is also fairly young in that system. And our Earth came to be like a planet, Earth thing. That's 3.4, 3.6 billion years, thereabouts. And then after some time, life began. And then we've had a few billion years of life evolving. So that's the standard theory. Young Earth creationists take their perspective from the Bible, from a fairly literal reading of the Bible, and this is where the controversy comes in. But they say when God says, there was the first day. He
Yeah,
means
yeah. A
day
literal
as in
day
we
worth.
understand a day.
24 hours, yeah.
Yes, 24 hours. So when he's created everything in 6 days and then rested on the seventh,
Yeah.
it means that. There's a 6-day week, like our 6-day working week, and then rested on the Sabbath. And then how they get to the age of the earth is in Genesis, there's records of genealogies. So it's so-and-so was so many years old and then
Yeah.
gave birth to so-and-so, who then lived so many years and
Yeah.
gave birth to so-and-so. So you add them all up
Yeah.
and you get to a certain, you can figure out how long it was between Adam and Noah and how long between Noah and Moses.
Yeah.
And then from Moses, we start getting into secular history where we know kind of which pharaoh he was under.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so then
yeah.
we can match Moses to a date in our calendar.
Yeah.
So if you know how long it was between Adam and Moses, which is what Genesis gives you in the genealogies,
Yeah.
then you land up with roughly 6,000 years from Adam to now.
Okay. So but there are Christians who do believe in old earth.
Yes.
But if I'm correct, they believe that God was the cause of the Big Bang.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So this may I don't know if you're okay with answering this question. Which one do you believe in?
Generally speaking, I fall into young Earth most of the time.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I'm not sold out in either direction. So I actually was reading a book the other day where they were just talking about the way we hold views in general, and these are views about theories like this. And they were saying, instead of saying like, yes, 100% I'm X, or
Yeah.
I'm for X 100%, but then if Y is true, you know, you might fall apart.
Yeah.
Because you've like placed your flag on this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you're wrong, like, you know, and you discover you're wrong, and this does happen, and I think it's difficult to say it's a danger, but it is kind of a danger for the young earth view, is that churches that are very strong on young earth, they teach the kids and teenagers that this is like essential to your faith. Like you absolutely, if you believe in the Bible, if you believe in God, then you will believe that the earth is 6,000 years old. And it's like, it's one of the, almost a key pillar.
Yeah.
And the problem is, this kid then goes to university and they're convinced that the earth is old.
Yeah.
And if that was a key pillar of their faith, they're stuffed.
Yeah.
Like you land up with deconstruction and all of that.
True.
So if you get sold out on this idea, which is not even people, so part of the problem is how you interpret the Bible is also at stake here. And there are different ways of interpreting the Bible.
Yeah.
To say these aren't literal days, they're eons. And there's a reasonable argument on both sides. So even though I would consider myself in the young earth camp, I'm like, when I read books by old earth creationists, I'm like, they have a good point.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible, it could be old. So rather than saying I'm either 100% this or 100% that, think in terms of probabilities. What is the probability that I'm right?
Yeah.
So, or the probability that this theory is right. So I would say I'm a 60 to 70% convinced young earth person. But that 60 to 70% sometimes goes higher, sometimes goes lower, depending on what I'm reading, whose arguments I'm listening to. And it's not a sort of core tenet of my faith.
Yeah.
So if one day I decide I'm actually 60 to 70% old earth, that's also cool.
Yeah.
And if I have a Christian brother or sister, and I have quite a few who I know they're Christians, but they just can't do this young earth business.
Yeah.
Like they studied geology, or they studied, they studied, they're astronomers, or, they studied these fields. And they're just like, I can't see how it's young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fine, cool.
Yeah, and that's
great.
That's a very interesting thing, because you can see how each view, somebody can actually believe in God more because of that. I think one of the reasons why I would say that I believe in young Earth simply because I think there are two reasons. One, I feel like God can do anything, right? If somebody is going to be able to make a world in a week, a universe, it would be Him. But also at the same time is I look at Adam as well, because sometimes like how can the world it's like you can tell by the age of the world just by looking at it. But Adam was also sort of like given, I think that the argument, they say inbuilt age. Like the age when Adam was not born as a child, was not created as a child who grew, he was created as a man. In the very same way that you can create a world that is already, old, so
Looks
to say.
old.
Yeah, it looks old. But also in the very same way, somebody who believes in old Earth can look at how God is very rational and scientific in the way that He operates, and that even gives them more belief, like, no, God must exist.
Yeah.
So I think both are valid arguments. You can also look at reasoning, but like you said, it should not be an essential. If you treat it that way and then your side falls apart, it's going to be a massive issue.
And that, I think, is dangerous, especially if you're setting up, especially for kids who are still figuring out what's true and what isn't, and trying to solidify their worldview. You could land up setting them up for failure by saying it's basically young Earth or bust.
Yeah.
Because if it's bust, then they haven't just lost their belief in the age of the Earth, they've lost their belief in the Lord.
Yeah, true.
And that's a much more serious thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like major on the major things, and the major things is Jesus Christ died for you and rose again.
Yeah,
like,
true.
That's the important thing that you need to believe. How long ago He created, and the other important thing is that He is the creator.
Yeah.
So for me, that first chapter of Genesis, which is like, this is where the battleground is, like the most important things that are said over and over again is that God is the creator, that He created by saying things. So He used information, which is very interesting and important point.
Yeah.
That things were made with the inbuilt instinct of reproduction.
Okay.
Survive and reproduce is part of be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Survive and reproduce. It's just a different way of saying the same thing. And that man is the pinnacle of His creation, and that man was made in His image. So it's like, those are like the core messages of Genesis 1. It doesn't even start with a date. It doesn't say this was when X, Y, and Z. So we infer the date from the genealogies. And you can argue about whether that inference is correct or not. So that alone tells me that wasn't particularly important to Moses. Like the dates, they weren't insignificant either. Because he does actually record them. So that's one of the interesting things about Genesis, is that they actually tell you how old so-and-so was when he had his child. If you look at other genealogies in, say, Chronicles, the Kings and things, they very rarely mention how old someone was when they had a child, and then how old that child was when they had a child. Like, there's some of that in the Kings, like how long they reigned for and things like that. That was important. But their biological age was neither here nor there. Whereas in Genesis, it's quite clearly there's a point that's been made there. So-and-so was so many years old. Like, why does Moses even tell us that? So it's not insignificant. But it's certainly not the key message of Genesis chapter 1. It's very much a secondary message that you get only by thinking a lot about Genesis. Like, if you just read Genesis 1 without all of the inference and the stuff and all of the other stuff, and you just, like, what is Genesis 1 trying to teach me? You would get all sorts of very, very important things about our faith. And none of those would be the age of the Earth. Like, all sorts of, we are made in His image, we are meant to have dominion, how we should tend and care for the Garden of Eden, like how animals were created, that the sun and the moon are not gods in themselves. There's like all sorts of messages in Genesis 1.
Yeah.
And age of the earth is not even there.
Yeah. Nice. So I think one of the biggest questions that even Christians would have is, faith and science seem to be contradictory. I know, people who are like, either atheists or staunch scientists, they feel like, I cannot believe in faith because it says that I should be intellectually dishonest or ignorant, so to say. And then people who are kind of like strongly in the faith camp, they're like, science has been against our faith, and especially because they look at something like evolution, which feels like that's the biggest thing. And they're like, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm not going to deal with reason or logic, at all. I'm just going to believe. So are these two things opposed to each other?
Not at all is the short answer. And I think it's a double tragedy. It's a double tragedy that this has become the narrative. So this narrative is recent, this science versus faith thing, that they're incompatible. It's only, I would say, since the mid-1900s.
Okay.
And it came from atheists, basically, trying to use science as a way to beat Christians into submission. So the early days of what we know as science, from the Enlightenment period. So when I say what we know as science, like there's lots of things that you could describe as science very broadly, like Greek philosophy. You could say, well, that's kind of scientific-ish.
Yeah.
It's some of the pillars of science comes from Greek philosophy. So you're like, okay, so maybe the Greeks started the science. But that's not really the scientific method that we apply today.
Okay, I get you.
Comes from the Enlightenment period in Western Europe. Whereas there's lots of other ways of knowing the world and figuring things out without following our scientific method. So people in the Muslim world were doing things like maths, very high order maths. They were observing the stars and with a great deal of accuracy. They were doing lots of things that you could be like, well, that's sort of science, isn't it? Yeah. But the way I'm defining science is quite a narrow version of it, which is using what we know now as the scientific method. So it's a much more formalized way of approaching it. It's you have a theory, and then you go out and you either do an experiment or you make observations and you see if that matches your theory.
Yeah.
So that very narrow definition of science, Western science, came about because of a Christian culture and context. So the very earliest scientists of that scientific tradition were all Christians. Yeah. And there is an argument that some of the prominent atheists say, well, they were all Christians because everyone was a Christian by default back then.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So of course they were Christians because it was Christian culture. Yeah. But if you actually read their writings and you listen to them tell you why they did science, what drove them, every single one of them is like, the point of this is to give God glory. Like Isaac Newton did his science because he was a Christian. Okay. And he wrote big, thick books, like the Principia Mathematica was his big scientific book, and another one on optics. And those are the things that sort of the laws of Newton's laws of physics and things like that come out of those books. Okay. And he devoted just as much time to his Principia Theologica, which was his studies of the Bible, because he felt that he should basically spend his time both equally. He studied the physical universe and he studied the Bible because he thought both were equally important. Yeah. So guys like that, Robert Boyle, the guy who did the gas laws, Johannes Kepler, who's how the Earth's rotation around the sun isn't a circle, it's an ellipsis, and so on. Those guys that were like some of the pioneers of Western science. Francis Bacon, who was the guy who first established the scientific method formally, like this is how you go about the steps. Yeah. He is famous for saying that God has written 2 books.
Interesting.
One is the book of that we all know, which is the book of Scripture. The Bible is God's book. The second book is the book of nature. So all of these early scientists, they didn't just happen to be Christians.
Yeah.
Like they did science because they were Christians.
Yeah.
It was like their drive behind studying God's world was because of their belief in God and their belief that God was a rational being
Yeah.
and that he would order the world to work the way it works, and it's our job as humans to find out how it works.
Interesting.
So none of them saw any incompatibility.
Yeah.
And this incompatible thing only really started coming when atheism kind of started taking over the sciences. And then some of the atheists, not all of them, but some, there's a particular group of atheists called the New Atheists.
Yeah.
Which I've heard some people call them the four horsemen of the atheist apocalypse.
Yeah.
So Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, Christopher Hitchens,
yeah.
and Sam Harris. So these are your four horsemen. And
Yeah.
these guys, they all were very active in publishing books around the same time. So this is sort of
Late.
80s, 90s, early 2000s, kind
Okay.
of that period.
Okay.
Was when they were like, I think Dawkins's first works came out sort of late 80s.
Okay.
Christopher Hitchens was possibly even before that. He's a bit older, so he's passed away since.
Yeah.
Sam Harris is still going. I don't know about Daniel Dennett, but so these guys were really, really popular. So Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion, his book
Yep.
was probably the most popular of the lot.
Yep.
And that came out, I think, 2000-ish, thereabouts, maybe a bit before that.
Yeah.
And took the world by storm. And their key strategy was to try and set up science against Christianity.
Yeah.
So it was like science is on our side as atheists,
Yeah.
and you Christians are like just being stupid.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you're against science, which is flipping history on its head. Like science came from Christianity. It actually belongs to Christianity.
Yeah.
So they stole it from us, literally.
Yeah.
They stole science from us through these works. And then, but the tragedy is that people believed them. So on the science side, there's a lot of people who, one of the big hurdles to faith is their science.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would have to get rid of my brain in order to become a Christian.
Yeah.
Like, because Christianity is anti-science. So they've bought into this idea. And because they bought into this idea, there's like this huge hurdle for them to overcome before they even consider Christ.
Yeah.
And that's the role of what we call apologetics. Part of the role of apologetics is to take that hurdle down and say, look, that's not really true. You don't have to be anti-science to be a Christian. Show them that. And then they're like, okay, well, let me consider Christianity then.
Yeah.
So that's the tragedy on the one side. On the other side, the tragedy is among Christians who think that science is the enemy.
Yeah.
And then things like anti-vaccination, those sorts of things that you're just like, they're people who say we never landed on the moon. The Earth is flat.
Yeah.
And a good number of those people, not all of them, but it seems like a fair number of those people are Christians or would call themselves Christians.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is not helping.
Yeah, and it's also like a loud minority as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and
It's the ones all over social media.
And the very interesting thing of what you just said is that atheism came with this idea of like you can't if you're gonna believe in Christianity, then you have to throw away your brain. So science is like it's separate from that. But not only did other people who are more scientific in nature, who do love to reason and logic, kind of like believe that lie, Christians who really want to have a strong faith in Christ were like, if this thing is going to come against, they also believe the same lie. Say that I'm not going to then think of this, adopt science in any form. I'm just going to believe in Jesus and just have faith alone. And it's just like these things are not against each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite interesting. And I will say one of the things that I valued a lot was the Christian scientists who actually came through and then started to debate.
Fight back.
Yeah. I think one of them, is it William?
Lane Craig,
Yes.
he's a philosopher,
Oh, okay.
but he is very much in this field
Yeah,
of
'cause-
fighting back.
Yeah, so he debated Hitchens, right?
He's debated several of them. I think he
Okay.
has debated Hitchens, I think
Yeah.
possibly Sam Harris as well. I don't know if he's debated Richard Dawkins or not.
I don't
Dawkins
think
doesn't
so.
like debating people who are going to beat him.
Right. And I think, but Dawkins, I think, debated the Christian. I know he was a mathematician,
John Lennox.
John Lennox.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's also fantastic. Yeah. And yeah, so I do appreciate these people, who do believe in God and who, even because of science, they believe in God more. And just goes to show that these two things are not opposite to each other. They're not against each other. In fact, science belongs to God. I do love Isaiah as well, who says, come, let us reason together. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's think this through.
Yeah.
And not just, hey, just believe. Because I don't think that the Bible ever speaks on that. And even when it comes to faith that we're having, it's something that is, it's almost like this. So people kind of like paint it as it should be blind faith, just believe even though you don't have any reason to. But faith is almost a thing of like you have thought up. You can think about this logically on why you can believe this. Looking at even examples of the Israelites when they left Egypt, they have every reason to believe that God can, sustain them, even though it looks bad. They have history, they have experience, and they can and you can even use the scientific method. I guess not to kind of like put the science together, but just like the thinking. It's like, if you have the theory of like we're stuck in the desert, we don't know where we're going. The theory can God sustain us? It's like, what has been repeated that we have observed to say that this theory can be true? It's like, look at our past. We were in Egypt, we were slaves. God set us free, opened up a sea. So obviously, this theory still stands, and maybe that's why guys like Joshua who probably can say they're more scientists than anybody, and just say that, hey, this thing has happened. God is more than able to do this. Yeah.
I was actually having a discussion on my Facebook wall quite recently. So I posted a blog about the resurrection and moon landings and what they have in common.
Oh, nice.
And what they have in common is there's a lot of evidence for both of them. And a lot of the same kind of evidence. So it's eyewitness testimonies.
Yeah.
Lots of other people who weren't the eyewitnesses around the eyewitnesses. So lots of detail. But someone replied to that and said, basically, faith is blind. It's against the evidence. So I don't know how this is, Christianity isn't like that. And I'm like, there is not a single person in the Bible who was asked to believe in God without evidence. Like every single time, God provides the evidence, and then He's like, "Okay, believe in me." So, just like you're saying, the Exodus, God doesn't just send Moses and tell the people there is a God, He's the great God, believe in Him. End of story. Like He's like, I am God, and now I'm going to send these 10 what we call plagues. But you could also see it from the Israelite point of view as miracles. Do these things. So that everyone can see it. So it's available for you to see. And you can see the Nile turning into blood. Like you can see stuff happening. And then based on that evidence, I am God. Now will you trust me? And follow me to the Red Sea. So it's like, so God doesn't just say, go jump in the Red Sea. like He doesn't just there's no evidence, but believe me because I'm God. So, just go running into the Red Sea and trust me. Like He gives them all sorts of evidence, like over 10 different events. Like proving that He is greater than the gods of Egypt. And then He's like, okay, come to the Red Sea. So based on that evidence, Now this is your act of faith.
Yeah.
And that's what he does throughout the Bible, right
Yeah.
through. And Jesus, when he rose from the dead, he could have just vanished
Yeah.
and been like, okay, now believe in me. Like, there's no
Yeah.
body.
True,
And that's
true.
it. That's all the evidence you're going to get is the lack of a body.
Yeah.
End of story. Now you got to believe and go and preach the gospel, because I've been telling you for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So you know what to do. There's no body. Off you go. Like, he doesn't do that. He knows that humans need evidence.
Yeah.
So he comes back. He joins them on the road to Emmaus and teaches them. He eats with them. He cooks fish by the side of the sea. He tells Thomas to come and touch my side, touch my hands. Like, this is physical, tangible evidence. I'm not a ghost. And he proves it to them on multiple different occasions to hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, now go into all the world. So now, with all of this evidence, go and be my witnesses. It's not just a blind step out into the abyss based on no evidence at all.
Yeah.
It's he gives evidence, and then he's like, okay, now I expect faith based on this evidence.
Yeah. And it all feels like a question like, do you believe me?
Yeah.
Type
And
of
do you
thing.
trust me? So
Yeah.
I much prefer, when talking to someone who doesn't understand what faith is, faith is really trust.
Yeah.
And to this friend that I was talking to on Facebook, I said, it's more like trusting someone when you get married to them. It's like, would you take that decision without any evidence? Like, some random person pitches up out of the blue, you've never seen them, don't know them from Adam, and they're like, will you marry me?
It's like,
No.
yeah.
Like, I don't know you from soap. No. Like, there's no evidence for me to marry you. But saying yes, even to someone you know very well, is a step of faith.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know if that person's going to remain faithful.
True.
You don't know if they're going to change or not change. Or you don't know all sorts of things. But should no one ever get married because we're uncertain? So there's this uncertainty involved in trust.
Yeah.
Where you're like, and that's the definition of trust. If there was no uncertainty, you wouldn't have to trust it. It would just be 1 + 1 = 2 kind of thing. So there's uncertainty involved. But that's not a good enough reason to say, well, then we're not going to trust anyone or anything.
Yeah.
And in our normal day-to-day experiences, things like marriage, things like trusting your parents, trusting your teachers, trusting people. We trust people all the time. You can't actually live in this world without trusting someone for something. True. Like, when we're on the road, we trust other drivers.
Yeah, that they're not
We'll
going
stop
to...
at the stop street.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it fails, but most of the time... People do stop at a red light, and the degree to which you trust them is the degree to which you drive more or less carefully.
Yeah, true.
So, but it's all based on trust. Society is based on trust, and that means we can't be certain about everything. We can't be 100% certain about anything, really. So, and that's what God when He works in this world, that's what He does, is He gives us sufficient evidence, and then He says, "Will you trust me?"
Yeah.
Based on this evidence, will you trust me? And that final step of faith, I like to say, it's the way the new atheists would have you believe it, is you've got this heap of evidence over here, mountain of evidence for science or whatever, atheism. And then God says, will you believe? And now I've got to turn my back on the mountain of evidence and be like, nope, I don't care, I'm going with God. And that's the choice.
Yeah.
That's the way they make it seem to be. But the way I see it is God gives you evidence for His existence, and it all points in one direction. So it's more like a road of evidence, of like different stepping stones for whatever that particular person needs. So not everyone needs scientific evidence. Some people need an evidence of a personal experience. Some people need a testimony of a friend. So different people need different kinds of evidence. But God gives us the kind of evidence we need.
Yeah.
And then He's like, okay, based on all of this, this is all pointing in one direction, and that direction is me. So the final step of faith is not a blind leap against the evidence. It's you follow the evidence, and then you take that final step over like a chasm, and that is a step that you have to consciously be like, okay, Lord, I trust you. And you have to go beyond the evidence. and be like, I trust you. And that's what you do when you say yes to marriage, is like, yes, I have evidence that this person loves me. They've done this and they've done that, and they're honest, and they're what, and they're what, and they're what, and I've got all of this evidence. Now they've asked me to marry them. I'm going to take that step across the precipice and say, yes, I trust you for the future that neither of us can know. Thankfully, in the case of God, he does know. But from our side, we're like, I don't know where my walk with God is going to go, but yes, I trust you based on the evidence.
Yeah, I think, like, I really love the fact that using the scientific method to build your faith. I don't think maybe people do it implicitly, but I think it's the first time I'm really seeing that you can really build a scientific case of why you can trust God, like in anything. There is sort of like a job that you want to take and you're not too sure if you know God will supply, will provide through it, or if you have to move to a different country, you can always use all the evidences that God has revealed through your life, whether it's before you were saved or even while you were a Christian, all of these things, just to figure out, like, okay, can I trust God in this? Can I trust God through this experience? Now there is, so you did mention the moon landing, which I kind of like, that's a point in time where I believed it, and then I started to have heavy doubts because I think the biggest question was why haven't they gone back? Which I did kind of like Google it and saw the reason. It was like, okay, this is plausible, but I bring that up to say that, is there something scientific a scientific thing that I would say that you kind of like either refused or that you just kind of like have heavy doubts about, that it's seen as fact? And I bring this question out to say, because there's sometimes the very same way that God can give evidence to people to have faith in him, for people to trust him, they can still say this is not good enough, or I just don't believe that. Probably not even have any reasons, or maybe they have reasons that they are not aware of, or they don't want to admit. Because for me, again, I can use the moon landing just like, okay, they say that they've been to the moon. We have guys like Buzz Aldrin who is a very staunch, gets upset because he was there himself. But then people are still like can doubt it heavily. And some people go as far and even say that this is not true. They've never gone, right? So is there sort of like an equivalent to that for you, which is either heavily doubt or you just don't believe that it's true?
Certain scientific things?
Yeah.
Okay. The grand story of evolution.
Okay.
From that we all came from a single-celled bacteria.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no. But my reasons for doubting that are actually scientific. They're not, it's not, so as I said, when I went to university, I learned the theory of evolution, and I'm like, I want to know what its story is. And the more I learned, the more I was like, it's not very convincing, is it? And the problem with it is that it's not, so why I preface this with the grand story of evolution is that there are aspects of what is called evolution that are so certain they are almost fact. Like things survive, reproduce, and adapt. That you can have one species of bird land up on the Galapagos Island and become 10 species of bird. Yeah. Like those things, there's really good solid evidence that happens. There's really, really good evidence for it. And we can even see in our breeding of domestic animals, we can see how we can change. We started with one kind of animal, and now we have things that are so different from each other. My favorite example is Chihuahuas and Great Danes are so far from each other. You're like, how can these still be dogs? True. So that elasticity, if it were, in the genome is incontrovertible. Like no one can say that God created the Chihuahua. Like no, he didn't. He created a thing that looked like a dog. So and things have changed since then. So the sort of creationist view and this is both old Earth and young Earth creationists, generally speaking, is that God created the broader kinds of animals that we have. So what we generally classify as a family. So in biology, your classifications go species is on the small classification, then those species are collected into a genus. Sometimes you only have one species in a genus, but more often than not you have several species in a genus. And then the genus, up from genus you get family level.
Yeah.
So you'll have several genera in one family. And then up from family you get order and so on.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get kingdom.
Yeah.
So the idea is that the differences between orders is probably too big. So an example of this is primate order and felid or cat order.
Yeah.
I don't think the primates and the cats had a common ancestor.
Yeah.
I think they're too far apart.
Yep.
But within the cat family, you have a huge diversity. So you have everything from
Lions.
the smallest black-footed cat, which is smaller than a domestic cat, through to a lion,
Yeah.
and masses of differences between them. We don't know whether God created one pair of cats that were just somewhere mid-size between those two, that have since diversified to what we have now.
Yeah.
Or whether he maybe created one pair of big cats and one pair of small cats.
Okay.
Like, we don't know that. But I would say there's fairly good evidence that those are different enough to dogs.
Yeah.
Even dogs, so primates are further apart. But even between the dog family and the cat family,
Yeah. Lots of difference.
those things are far enough apart. I think earlier I was saying, so orders, a small difference between families. Primates are also a family. Your order would be like your carnivores and your herbivores.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think carnivores and herbivores shared a common ancestor.
Yeah.
And then mammals shared a common ancestor, so that's going bigger and bigger. Mammals shared a common ancestor with fish and so on. So that's I think there's a limit. There's a God-ordained limit that we don't fully know yet where that limit is, to which things can't change beyond. So they can become... A cat can become an extremely small cat, but there's a limit to its smallness. It can't become as small as a mouse.
Yeah.
Like there's a limit in its genome that it can't go smaller than that. You can't get much bigger than a lion.
Yeah.
There's limits, and we see in our artificial breeding, we see these limits quite in practice, because anyone who owns a really small dog will tell you that they are very prone to cold. They can't cope with any sort of cold environment.
Yeah.
They break their legs when they jump off a couch. It's like there's lots of things that are problematic for owning a really small dog. That kind of, to me, says, that dog probably wouldn't survive in the wild.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's not natural selection. Natural selection wouldn't push the dog genome as far as we've pushed it.
Yeah.
Because those dogs would not survive. The same on the upper end of the scale. Anyone who owns a Great Dane will tell you how big their vet bull is.
Yeah. True.
Because they just have hip problems and skeletal problems and these problems and those problems, and they don't live very long. And so we've stretched the genome to its absolute maximum.
Yeah.
And we see that even at its absolute maximum, those things are both still dogs.
Yeah, true.
Like, we haven't created a horse.
Yeah.
And we haven't created a mouse out of the dog genome.
Yeah.
We're still within the dog genome. We're within the limits.
Yeah.
So I think there are limits. The evolution happens in terms of that small thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
But there are limits.
Yeah.
And those limits, where they are real limits, and we still don't really know where those real limits are, is when God says he created according to their kind.
Yeah.
That kind was the thing that he created. And we might not know exactly what that kind looked like, but I can tell you it wasn't a bacteria. Like, it wasn't. God created the first cell. and that was all he did. So you've got the young Earth creationists, the old Earth creationists, and then on the further end you've got what's called theistic evolutionists, who say that God used evolution.
Yep.
And their point of view is that God literally created the first living cell.
I see. Okay.
And then hands off, and evolution did the rest.
Yeah.
And I just don't think the scientific evidence is there. And you can be a Christian and believe that.
Yeah.
So it's not like, again, you're either an evolutionist or a Christian. There are people who do both.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the theory of evolution is quite weak.
Yeah,
so
true.
why would you put all your eggs in that basket as a Christian and be like, God only created the first cell? Because that is in direct contradiction with the Bible. Clearly,
Absolutely.
he didn't just create bacteria.
Yeah.
He tells us that he created these other things. So whether the old Earth creationist is right that he created after eons, so he created the early living cells, and then let them go for a while. And then when the earth was more habitable, he creates plants. And then plants make the earth more habitable still. And then he creates animals, and so on. Like that view is still compatible with Genesis. It's just stretching out the timeline. So you're like, okay, that's fine. But you have to hold that's against evolution, because evolution thinks it's all natural. That happened without God stepping in and creating something specially. Whereas your theistic evolutionist just goes completely with the evolutionary theory. And the only difference is, well, God made the first cell.
Made it,
And that's it. So, and I reckon our God is more powerful than that. He isn't only capable of creating a cell.
No, I think that's actually quite profound. And I even because when we spoke about old Earth, I didn't even think of they call them what,
theistic evolutionists. Sometimes they call themselves evolutionary creationists.
Oh, okay.
Either way, it's like a square circle. It's an oxymoron.
Oh man, yeah, that would be very interesting to hear somebody's views on that, how they marry that too, because it's that huge lie that's kind of like these two things are incompatible, and I can even understand how somebody was like, if someone say, hey, I think I believe in both, that God is the one who put the first cell, and to some degree I can respect that, to be like, okay, this is what you truly believe in, and you are still sort of like not saying that God does not exist, but it's sort of like, again, believing in something that already has a wrong premise, so to say. So yeah, I think it would be very interesting to like have that conversation with God, like how did it happen? And I even feel like that will open up again even more questions on top of that.
And that's the interesting thing. So the how it happened, and this is one of the big differences between faith and science, is by faith we believe, for example, that the Bible is the inspired word of God. And when we are searching for truth, we read the Bible and we try and interpret it based on certain principles of interpretation to get the truth. And that's how we find truth in the Bible, theologically. Science is also trying to find truth. But they do it through the scientific method, which is a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of relying on human mind, human abilities, which are finite, obviously, but it's lots of humans working on the work of other humans to slowly but surely progress, and very often go down dead ends and whatnot. You can think of it as walking through a maze where you go right and you find that's a dead end, so then you come back and then you go left, and then you go left and you find that's a dead end, so you come back and you go right, and that's pretty much the scientific method. It's this sort of zigzag. Eventually we might find something, and most of the time you're proving things false rather than proving things true. So it's about falsifying stuff. You set up your theory, and then you set out to see if your theory is false. That's like the premise. And if it isn't false, then you're like, well, then it's more likely to be true. But now let's look at this part of the theory and see if that's false. So that's how it progresses, is you falsifying things all the time. You're falsifying that. And whatever's not false, like, that's the wrong way to go. This is probably the right way. That's wrong, this is right. So it's a much more different way of approaching
Yeah.
the whole thing. Whereas the Bible is like, you open the Bible, God says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and
like-
you believe in it. End of story. Nice. There's no discussion. There's no debate.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Interesting.
But the thing is, it's also the difference between the Bible and what God has set for us to do. So a theistic evolutionist I was listening to the other day made a very good point. He said the Bible doesn't tell us how God does stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that omission is on purpose. So he tells us why.
Okay. Yeah.
So the main answers that the Bible answers is why are we here? What is the meaning of life? Why am I this? Why am I like that? Why this? Why is there evil in the world? Why is there suffering? Why?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that the Bible wants to answer.
Yeah.
The metaphysical big questions. That's what God wants to answer. The questions that are the same for all time, for all people across, because the Bible is applicable to everyone.
Yeah.
So that's what he sets out to answer in Genesis and in the rest of the Bible. He does not set out to answer how he did everything, like how he created X and how he set up Y,
True, yeah.
and how physics works and
Yeah.
how chemistry, and the wonderful thing, and I think it is a wonderful thing, is that God lets us discover those things.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to give you a mind and a brain that is able to figure this out. And I'm going to let you do it. So he gives humans, and this is part of when he gives humans dominion over the world, part of that dominion is the ability to figure it out. It's like, and part of the image of God is this mind that we have. And he's like, I've given you just a little drop of who I am.
Yeah.
And by figuring out how the universe works, you will see a little bit of the mind of God. It's a different kind of revelation.
Yeah.
So by understanding maths, we can see that we have an ordered creator. So we discover that God is a God of order, that he does things the same way every single time by laws. It's not arbitrary. He doesn't just wake up one day in a bad mood and all of maths goes to hell and we all fall apart. That's not how he works.
Yeah.
So we can discover those aspects of God by using the brains he gave us to discover the stuff that he's created. So we find the mind of the universe by examining the universe.
Yeah.
And that's how he's set it up that way. And that's why he doesn't give us the how of everything.
Yeah.
So Sam Harris, for example, says he would only believe in the Bible if there was a page of pure quantum physics equations in it.
Okay.
And you have missed the point of the Bible.
Yeah.
Could God write quantum physics equations? Yes, he can.
Yeah.
Would there be a point to it? No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, okay, I get you, yeah.
And even if he did that, chances are Sam Harris still wouldn't be convinced. So if he put that page in there just for Sam Harris, and Sam Harris still isn't convinced, and the person he was talking to was like, yeah, sure, but I bet you that even if there were equations like that, say in Exodus, you would have been like, wow, those Egyptians were advanced people. You would have found a naturalistic explanation for it because that's not convincing enough.
Yeah.
So that's not the point of the Bible. That's not what God is trying to do. It's the point of our minds and our brains that he gave us. It's like, okay, now go and explore and find out stuff.
Yeah. And I think that, again, answers the question that you ask about, how you can have overwhelming evidence and still refuse it.
Yeah.
Like you can have, let's say the people who believe that the earth is, flat.
It's flat. Yep.
You can give them all the scientific facts. You can fly them, to space, they look and fly around the earth, and they'll still have that thing of saying that I still don't think it's enough. I want more. So it's sort of like when you give them what they asked for, they find something else to not believe. And now it's no longer the lack of evidence why they don't believe. It's something something else.
And that was the purpose of my blog, the resurrection versus the moon landings, because that level of skepticism is the same. It's the same kind of skepticism.
Oh, okay.
So when I say the Gospels were written by eyewitnesses, you can show that. There's very good historical evidence that the Gospels were written by eyewitnesses. And those eyewitnesses, their entire lives changed. People like Paul went from hating Christianity to becoming the greatest apostle. And you're like, how did that happen? So there's that evidence, and you're like, okay, there's this evidence from Paul, and people be like, yeah, well, Paul probably had a bad curry that night, or this, or that, or the other thing, so it's not enough. And then you present some other kind of evidence. No, that's not enough. And you present the history in Acts and Luke's. Oh, no, that's not enough. And it's just like, there's nothing, basically, that would convince you. And
true.
even a personal experience of God probably wouldn't convince you. Like, there's a chap, Peter Atkins is another atheist, and someone asked him, what sort of evidence would it take? And he was like, there's none. There's no evidence that would tell me that there is a God. And the chap was like, well, what if God wrote your name in the sky? And he'd be like, yeah, I think I'd gone mad. So there's nothing. So now why would God bother giving him a personal experience?
Exactly.
If it's not gonna move the needle, because he has set himself that he will not believe. The same thing applies to skepticism about the moon landings and the flat earth and all of that jazz. Is it doesn't matter how much evidence you give them. You can say those astronauts were eyewitnesses. They were on the moon. They brought moon rocks back. They're like actual rocks sitting in a space lab somewhere on Earth. Like they're there. They're physical things. Heaps of people have seen them. There were thousands of people in NASA who helped these people go to the moon. There are people who have been paid millions of dollars for the stuff that they produced to go to the moon. And you're like, doesn't make any sense that that's a hoax. Like billions of US dollars. For what? And then you've got the USSR back in the for the first moon landing saying, well done. And they could track that craft. And they knew what it took to get there.
And they were also sort of like in a race.
And and they didn't want to admit that the US made it. But they did. That's enemy testimony, which is the same sort of thing as Paul becoming a Christian. He was an enemy of the cross of Christ, and suddenly he's like, right, that actually happened. Like despite myself. Like I don't want this to be true, but it is. So here we are. And that's pretty much what the USSR was like. It was like, they don't want the US to win the space race. But they did. So here we are.
Exactly. and I think sort of like the interesting thing as well, it's kind of like, if we kind of like stray a little bit out of science and go into legal space, where if somebody has brought overwhelming evidence that this is, that the person is innocent, you know, they have eyewitnesses, they have alibi, they have all this and this and this and this. And then the judge goes like, no, I still think they're guilty. Then it's no longer an issue of the evidence is not enough. It's like, this is a sham court. Like,
the judge is biased.
The judge is biased.
Yes.
So then, and this is why, you know, I love that God is a just God, that in his court, like, you know, when we do kind of like, when Judgment Day arrives, everything will be revealed. And it's either one, you're going to be in a place and still have overwhelming evidence, you know, and still say that no, it was never enough, or you'll even applaud God and be like, no, you are truly just, you know. And I think that's something that every person needs to like really do a lot of introspection and stuff. Like, how much evidence do you need before you just end up saying that everything is not enough, you know, and then that kind of like shows exactly where you are. And
in the court of law, like, we convict murderers based on beyond reasonable doubt, and that isn't 100% certainty. It isn't, and that's convicting a murderer. There's people who have been sent to death in places where death is the penalty, based on reasonable doubt. Because which is an admission by the court system that there is no way that we can be 100% certain about anything. So to put the level at 100% certainty, you're setting it up to basically no one's ever guilty of anything, ever. Everyone can go free, because we're never going to be 100% certain about anything. So give up the whole law system. So it's just a ridiculous bar of evidence that you're never going to reach. So like it's foolish. Whereas if you go beyond reasonable doubt, that's a reasonable bar, because then you're like, okay, you could still have doubt, but your doubt would be unreasonable.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, I would say the same sort of bar applies to Christianity. It's like, yes, you could still be a Christian and have doubts in your Christian faith.
Yeah.
Like, you can have doubts. Doubts part of life. We can still have doubts.
Yeah.
But then you've got to ask yourself, is this a reasonable doubt or an unreasonable doubt?
Yeah.
And often it's an unreasonable doubt.
True.
And then you're like, okay, well, if I believe God beyond reasonable doubt, then these things that I'm doubting are actually unreasonable. And so I should, for my own sake, again, this is not a thing against God, like God hasn't given us enough evidence. It's our fallen nature of not trusting and inventing doubts where there aren't, and inventing, oh, but what about this, and oh, but what about that, and things that aren't reasonable.
True.
So we need to stay within what is reasonable for us to believe.
Yeah. So, man, we were touching on so many things, but I really love that. So we had, so I'm rocking the Gathering T-shirt, right? And we had the apologetics, seminar, and you were there. Now, when you were asking about it, and even when you showed up, I was surprised because I looked at you and I'm like, no, she already knows all of these things already. Like, why was she here? But what intrigued you to go to the apologetic seminar?
I listen to stuff about apologetics literally all the time.
Okay.
Like any poor person who's on the other end of my WhatsApps gets apologetics videos.
Nice.
Frequently.
Okay.
And I try to not share everything that I watch because shame.
Yeah.
But so I'm fascinated in how different people make the case. Because I might know the case, but there's so much to learn from other people in terms of how they make the case. And I've learned a lot from some people that I disagree with on certain matters. So I might disagree on their view of creation or the way they treat evolution or something. Like I just quoted Sygart, who's a theistic evolutionist, about science versus faith. And he made a really good point. And I was like, okay, well, that's, I can learn. I don't agree with his theistic evolution.
Yeah.
But his approach is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Guys like John Lennox and the way they approach the conversation and the way they answer questions is always a learning experience. It's like if I listen to the question, I'm like, okay, well, this is how I would approach it. And then someone answers it differently. I'm like, that might have actually been better.
Okay.
Maybe I'll try that one next time.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's why I want to know the kinds of questions. So that's conference.
Okay.
I wanted to know the kinds of questions the audience was asking. Because a lot of the stuff I listen to and watch is by nature either American or British because they dominate YouTube.
True.
So here we are.
Which is kind of funny because at the apologetics we did have someone who was American and also someone who was British as well.
So exactly, they dominate the field. So you listen to a lot of questions and answers that are posed by British and American people. And I always wonder, I wonder if Namibians actually struggle with this stuff. Like, do Namibians think that much about evolution? Or is it just a non-issue?
Yeah.
Or how would they phrase the problem of evil? Or these different ways based on your cultural context? I think the same themes, like in that conference, it was the same stuff. The same themes come across as any podcast you would listen to anywhere in the world, because we're humans.
Yeah, true.
And we struggle with the same things and the same questions and the same doubts. So it's not surprising that you have the same themes. But your culture will change how you approach the question. Maybe evolution isn't pushed so much in schools here as there, so it's lower down on the priority list. Maybe it's more the ancestral traditions and stuff that presents more of a challenge. So you might get more questions around that. So that's why I went to know what sort of questions are Namibians asking of apologists, and how would these guys answer? Because I can learn from how they answer.
Yeah. And I didn't get a chance to say this to you, but I did appreciate your presence there, because as much as we had sort of like, a panel that was, answering questions, what I did notice is that when the event was over, not everybody could reach the panelists to talk to them, and people still had questions.
Yeah.
And
Had some great conversations
yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
And I feel like that part of like having now a conversation with somebody rather than just answering a question, I think it hits a little bit deeper because you're getting to know the person a little bit more and where the question is coming from and things like that.
You can ask more than one question and follow-up questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And somebody did give me a testimony that somebody that you spoke to actually had a refreshing idea of what Christianity is and how the church is like, because they spoke to you.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Cool.
So, and this was somebody who was, they did come to faith, but they still kind of like were, reasoning
Lots
with
of
a lot of questions, things that have to do with science and all of these things. And maybe their experience of church was just like, hey, just have faith. Don't ask those questions. Yeah, don't ask
Whatever
questions.
you do, don't ask questions.
Just believe.
Yeah.
So, and that the person felt like they had to be ignorant about certain things. But then after, talking with you, they're like, oh, they're Christians who actually have answers, who
think about the same things.
About the same things, and have researched some of these things. So it's it's not belief without any, evidence, as we've been speaking about.
And I think it can get lonely if you're in the church and you don't think. I mean, it's also, you're under the false impression that everyone else is 100% confident.
Yeah.
And it's just you.
Yeah, true.
just me with my doubts and my issues. And clearly no one else has these problems because they're all worshipping God and they're all cool.
True, yeah.
And that also puts the pressure on, don't ask questions, because when you ask a question, you're revealing that you have a doubt.
Yeah.
So you have to be pretty vulnerable to ask a question. You have to be like, I don't know if I can really believe that God is good given the problem of evil. And even asking that question, people are like, how dare you? Like, you're doubting the character of God, kind of, the Bible tells us, blah, 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 blah. And, the way you answer that question can also be a serious problem for people.
True, yeah.
So having an atmosphere, things like those conferences, where you like, come, questions are welcome, questions are expected. Like, bring your questions. We want to know your questions. It sort of it brings down that those barriers. And when you ask a question, you aren't judged for asking a question. Yeah. Because you're expected to ask a question. So it's like, okay, you've asked a question. That's great. That's what we're asking you to do. Yeah. So it brings down that perceived. It's not always real. Like, you're not always being judged by asking, but you might be judging yourself. So it brings down that perception of I'm being judged. Yeah. And I'm now free to actually ask my questions and hope people will answer them. Right. So I think those sorts of events that you run are really important. So keep it up.
I think we'll definitely try to. So let's say we have another, seminar. Are you willing to be a panelist?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic.
Always. I love answering questions.
Cool stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely be having one soon. We'll probably talk about it after the podcast. But yeah, we're glad to have you on there. All right. So man, I think we can close it here for now.
Before we go all day until like evening.
Yeah, but definitely we'll have another chat about this. There's so much that we can actually go into. So yeah, thank you so much for coming through. And before we let you go, what is if you're able just to kind of like share your heart with anybody that is listening, what would be the one takeaway that you would like somebody to know?
That God isn't afraid of questions. So I think humans, because we're fallen, we might be afraid of questions. So even if you go to your pastor or you go to someone and you pose a really hard question to them and they're afraid of your question and they like turn you down or they tell you to stop asking stupid questions or or they just don't answer the question, they evade the question or something, you can get the sort of impression that Christianity itself and God, the God of the Bible, can't answer those questions. And you're like, okay, well, this is quite weak. Like a faith that can't answer questions is a weak faith. I'm not saying that your pastor has a weak faith. I'm saying that the faith, as in Christianity as a whole, if it could not answer life's most difficult questions, then what are we believing in really? Like something that is true as in it matches with reality, kind of true, should have at least some sort of answer to most questions. And again, what sort of answer would satisfy you depends on whether you're being unreasonably doubtful or reasonably doubtful. So you do have to ask yourself that question, like to what extent am I going to doubt? If I do get an answer to this question, what kind of answer would satisfy my doubts? And if there's no kind of answer that's going to satisfy your doubt, well, then your doubt is unreasonable, and you're going to be like, okay, why am I unreasonable about this? And a lot of the times it's emotional reasons, like particularly questions around the problem of evil. The reason why people won't accept any answer for the problem of evil is because they have been hurt so badly themselves that their doubt no longer comes from a rational, logical place. It comes from the heart. And that requires healing of your heart more than just a rational, philosophical answer. Is not going to help you. like you need the Lord to actually heal you from the pain that's been caused. That's a different solution to someone giving you a nice logical answer. So if you do encounter Christians or your church who can't answer a question, don't then conclude that God can't answer the question. Like, because God can answer the question. And you just have to keep seeking, keep searching, keep looking, keep asking that question. Don't be afraid of your question. Don't bury your question. Don't just be like, well, I'm just going to live with my doubt, I guess. Like, pursue it. Pursue it. Go look for the answers. Go buy books, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube, whatever it is, how you consume stuff. Go and look for good answers. And you do it prayerfully. Certainly if you're a Christian, you say, Lord, I have these doubts and those doubts and the other doubts. Help me to find credible, good sources of information, because I mean, the internet's a horrible place, so you could land up in some horrible rabbit hole on Reddit, so don't do that. go look for credible, good witnesses, especially people where you can see the character of the Lord within them. So a lot of these debates between your atheist and your Christian, particularly people like John Lennox, the way he answers the questions, like even if you just black out what he's actually saying, and you just look at his demeanor and his approach, and you're like, this guy has something that the other guy clearly doesn't have.
True.
So then you're like, this guy has the love of the Lord in his heart. And then that's the sort of person that I would be willing to receive from. So if I'm searching for answers, I would look for someone who has that thing. That, you know, this person knows my Lord. And he's the kind of person that will give me the right kind of answer.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you go and dig up Richard Dawkins's books, like you if you are still seeking, like if you're genuinely seeking the truth and you're asking God to help you, you can even go through Dawkins and Dennett and Harris and whatever and Hitchens, and I'm not saying, you know, run away from the atheists. Like, if you want to, you know, go into that rabbit hole, I've read The God Delusion. It's pretty weak. And that's one of the benefits of reading it, like being open and being like, okay, do your worst. Tell me what you think of my God. Well, that's a pathetic argument. It strengthens your faith, being like, oh, that's pathetic. But I approached that book in a place of strength. So I knew the Lord, I knew what I believed, I knew stuff. And then as I was evaluating his arguments, I was like, yeah, that falls short, and that falls short, and that's horrendous. It can be hazardous for like a baby Christian to dip into every atheist book he can come across. I wouldn't suggest it. I wouldn't say be afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them. Like, I don't think we should be afraid of them. But be wise. Like, in your particular walk where you are with the Lord, be wise in terms of what content you consume and where you get your information from, and what are credible sources and not credible sources. And if you do that, the Lord will answer your questions.
Awesome. Man, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, and we'll
Thanks,
definitely
DVH. This is
have
great.
another one. All right. So everybody, so that's all we got for today. So definitely be on the lookout on the gathering. We'll be posting the link to the WhatsApp group for you guys to join. And yeah, we'll be having another, apologetic seminar where we'll have Gail as one of our panelists. So that's going to be great. So we'll see you on the next one.